Hi everyone, this is Anna from Anna K Cards YouTube channel, and today I'm going to give you some tips, techniques, and products I use to make this East Village, New York, inspired by my artist daughter. And I was recently in New York, and she has a love for books, and we went to vintage bookstores, and we just totally just nested in her apartment, set it all up. And so this was what inspired this card. So for this card, I love making my own backgrounds, as I said. So there's several layers of backgrounds here. And it turned into a 5x7 cards. I usually don't make 5x7 cards. Usually I do the standard A2 size, but for some reason, the reason is actually, there is a reason, is that I started with this pattern paper. It's like these bookshelves, because that was the theme of the card. And I really wanted the card to show that these were books. I wanted to show off this pattern paper. So if I made it into the A2, everything I put on top would hide it, and you would just maybe see colors, but you wouldn't really know what this was. So I decided to make the whole front of the card 5x7 to make total use of this pattern paper. So that's what I did. I knew I wanted to show off this pattern paper, so that's how I started my background. And because I wanted to show the majority of this pattern paper, you knew it was like bookshelves, I decided to go for the 5x7. And I just layered on the background so that, you know, the image wouldn't look like there's a tiny image on a gigantic card. So those layers provide provide smaller images to be used on larger cards. So that was one layer. The layer right above that, I actually just had this. When I was in New York, I went to a vintage bookstore and I bought just like an old book, like $5, because I love making my own background, especially with Christmas cards. I thought, you know, book pages are just so vintagey, and I love making vintage style book Christmas cards. But I thought, oh my God, it'd be perfect for this card too. So I literally just tore out a page from the book, and used it on this card. So those were two of my backgrounds. And the third background, I actually got this color pattern paper, cardstock, and I cut it. It was 8x10, so I just cut it down to 5x7, and then I had to embossed it with this Altenew embossing folder. It's like almost 3D. And I had to do it twice because the whole thing doesn't fit into the embossing folder, but you can't really tell that I did one portion of it and then the other portion of it. And then since it was a book theme, I decided to use this edger die. As you can see, if you put it along the edge of the paper like this and die cut it, it gives you this edge, this notebook edge, and it's so cool. So I did it on the page from the book that I tore out, and I did it on the solid colored cardstock. And then what I did also to the background is I inked the edges with a dark Distress ink by Tim Holtz. I think it was called Espresso. And I inked just the edges all along here of the solid and of the book, but I left the pattern paper clean, because I like the white, because the white is also in the stamped images, so it has some white in the pattern paper as well. And then for the stamped images, is really interesting. I have this stamp set, and I used this gnome, but then what I did was I stamped this image multiple times and cut this gnome off so that and then I stacked these books. So even though there was another gnome on this stacked books, I still stamped it, but I die cut this part using the die cut, and then I just used scissors and cut the top off, because then I could just have the stacked books. But the reason I really wanted this gnome, because it just describes my daughter so well with her coffee and her books and all of that. And she's just one of my favorites. And then this stamp with the little books came separate, so I stamped that multiple times and die cut them and added them to the card as well. And of course, the sentiment is perfect. It's also from this stamp set. So here I decided to add this floss or this thread to the card as well. Kind of gives it like a book binding. Gives it dimension, and it gives it additional accessories to the card, but it also gives me like a book binding kind of card because it's a card and made it kind of into a book. So that's kind of the feel it gave me. So that's my card for this week. Thanks. Bye.